Blessings, y'all. It's Jesse, and yeah, I'm showing you the cuff of this shirt because it's a lot of buttons and it's pretty cool. And I never know why I do this. Like, I never know what to do with my arms when I start a video because I don't want to just be like. Anyway, I hope you are doing what you can to maintain your highest state of physical, mental, and spiritual health amidst these crises. The world is going through it. I'm definitely going through it, and I kind of wanted to talk about what that going through looks like. I wrote something on my website, which is actually the only post in addition to Paradise Clarity, where one can read a brief explanation, and it's still not really an explanation. I'm going to actually insert this video on my website so that it's added context. And this is really something I was debating making for a while. I was not really sure how to go into this. But upon further reflection, I've accepted the call to just make it and talk about it because it's very real and I want to share just what Paradise Clarity is. So I'm going to read it and then break it down and we'll continue. What is paradise if not for the search for transparent understanding? I've randomly been writing poems and symbolic gestures starting back to 2013. In this collection of writings, you'll be able to search through the many ramblings of my mind. I've spoken about everything from spirituality, food, and dreams and their waking life contradictions. Reading my own words have been a revelatory insight into the reason I began to seek higher understanding. It all began in early 2013 after leaving a relationship that had significantly transformed my process of what understanding looks like. Many a times, I thought I knew for sure what I was going through, only to soon realize my eyes missed the lies passed right in front of me. It took being told the same thing by close friends, family, and strangers for me to somehow think I was getting through. Until I was looped back into the wire, a GPS programmed to a circular circumference. Here I was saying, I got it this time. I didn't have the proper correlation or the education, which comes with learning about love, but also living with someone whose narcissism is cloaked onto them similarly to how a robe can cover a pulsating throb. I didn't see what was ahead of me because I didn't realize randomly the same begins with a name not belonging to a disposition of fame. It took 8 years and some change for me to get through. I was searching for X, the unknown, yet known. Cycles of stained decoration left me in constant hesitation, refusing to move on, assuming I'd become the same pawn set adjacent to the queen who would guess that chess was better played if it was all made into a beautiful and toxic mess. Paradise Clarity has shown me out of the deepest enclaves I can reach to understanding through the work without feeling the need to justify every correlation that led me to why X has occupied so much of my figuring out. Throughout all the years and tears wherein I feared, ever knowing the peace of being alone, believing that home could be understood, distant, and way out overseas. Now I see it all began with me. And then I insert this picture of the heart on this sheet that says, you're going to figure it out like you always have. Except it's not you also. It's the ancestors who have paved the path. One can easily do the math. They told you it was hard to do, that numbers and shapes couldn't be understood by you. But that's a damn lie. One can try to reach a higher place where grace is marinating in space. The search is how one may get through, uniformly or randomly. Finally releasing this book has also allowed me to move on and away from the pains and gains which left me bound to reason and seasonal treason against the truth that deeply remains. Herein my salvation is retained. All right, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Now, we got to dive into what a lot of that comes from and where that is inspired from. So if you go to, for those who have purchased Paradise Clarity, I want to thank you. I appreciate everyone who's reached out to me and provided feedback, enjoying what 460 pages has allowed. I understand that a lot of this for me has just been revelatory, as I said in the beginning, because I remember when I wrote it. So I was leaving a relationship late 2012, around October. I actually started to go through my files, and I saw the original writings. At the end of the book, which is really the beginning of Paradise Clarity, I write, I have arrived within a blossom chamber, while the wrestling silhouettes personify paused mannerisms. What was uniformly known was consumed in a coma. Love's dictum, noun produces Paradise Clarity. So that explains it in a symbolic way, but if I was to break those down individually, tenet by tenet, which I hope to do in some form, maybe not entirely in this video, because I realize when talking about a lot of this stuff, it's heavy. A lot of it is personal. I'm not trying to speak into any sort of demise, but really just give explanation, just reading my own words and understanding why I wrote what I wrote. Again, I was leaving a relationship in late 2012, and going into the new year, I came into this understanding that love's dictum was the reason. And at that time, I was studying a lot about grace, and not so much getting out of the legalism, because I'm a PK, my dad's a pastor. I come from a very religious, legalistic background, and a lot of that had a huge impact on my life. And I was really sheltered in a way, and I was kind of breaking free from that in 2013. I was coming to understand the unmerited favor and the unconditional love of Spirit and God. And I was just coming into this higher understanding while also feeling like I was under attack, because I was still involved in various contradictions, because I was, a Christian at the time, and then my partner was an atheist. And it's like, how do you make that work? I mean, I can write deeply and talk deeply into how all of these connections really came to me, but it was me really understanding that the sunset. So I speak on page 456. Seeing the sunset of your character frozen into imagination inspires me to break the ice and warm you through impending realizations of fire. So I wrote that because I understood at that moment I was going through something very hard, and it was really hard on me to process that emotion outside of prayer. But again, praying for someone who doesn't believe in God is kind of like, it could still be received, but it's also not necessarily of service to the person who doesn't have any value in that. And I was just really at a point of crossroads in my life. And I was at a birth. I still felt like it was a birth of something new. I called it a tile rebirth. I was like, the pattern of the floor is about to change. I'm about to go into something entirely different. And 2013 was definitely that beginning for me. And I thought at the time I had arrived at this place like, oh yeah, I understand that this thing I've been involved in isn't for me. But of course I had to understand in life, it was a journey of still being connected to those ties, not understanding the toxicity of those ties. I speak of it in terms of it being a toxic chess mess, but it was really deeper than that. This is something I'm still currently in. It's like releasing this book has been freedom for me, but it's also just been me realizing how deeply connected I've been searching, trying to get through randomly. And of course, not all of these poems are inspired by this relationship that I was in, but the landscape of it, really, the sensitivity of just the writings themselves have sort of just allowed me to step back, because I'm now in the process of creating the website, paradiseclarity.com, where I'll have all of the writings and the videos, because a lot of you know me. For those of you who don't, that's what the website will seek to expound on: all of my writings, all of the videos I've done about various angles and angels. And I'm going to eventually put that out on the website. But now that this book is out, it's like, I can finally breathe. I can kind of release and show off just some of the sensitive elements to what birthed this whole creation. And I understand not everybody's going to get it. And so that's why I'm making this video, just to suggest that a lot of what you're reading is obviously, not only is it poetry, some of it might appear a bit disconnected. And for those who don't know me personally and who are not aware of my story, of course, it's just like, I mean, I didn't write this book to make huge amounts of money on it. Of course, it's never about that. It's always just about getting through to those who have been willing to just follow along. And I want to thank everyone who's purchased this book and reached out to me and provided wonderful feedback. It means so much to me because this is just 7 years of all of the things I've been trying to understand. And the bulk of that search has been complicated because I was involved in something that was significantly, there was trauma bonding going on. And again, narcissism is a toxic, demonic force. And I was just confused, bewildered. It's not that I'm blaming myself. I mean, I was at many different places, and I am very grateful for all of the stages in my life wherein I found myself, where I found home, where I found closer to a truth. But, when you're going through it, you don't know what you're going through until you get through it. And I should also note that the act of getting through is determined by specific conditions, which vary. I mean, some use bicycles, some use cars, some walk, some might use whatever mode of transportation, and then life happens in which they have to significantly change that, which would alter the course of their destination by various angles or angels, right? So it's all about accepting the journey. When I say paradise clarity, I'm not speaking of a destination. It's definitely more of a process. This is a process. It's a journey. It's not like you've arrived. You're arriving at a place of cultivation. The blossom chamber speaks to cultivation and sowing seeds. And then there are those things that reflect your shadow, the wrestling silhouettes. They personify things that can be still. That's the pause mannerism. It's still, but it's also like a movement. So yeah, now I'm kind of really trying to explain it. I'm not sure if any of this is making sense because it is poetry, but it's also just to say, be easy on yourself. I'm learning that for myself, and I say that to everyone else who may be going through something where you're having to start anew and build upon after losing something or after going through something that has taken a significant portion of your energy. Rebuilding yourself and moving on to a higher place requires work, but it also means being easy on yourself because you just went through it and you're still going through the healing. And that's what this book has been for me. That's why it's been sort of hard for me to just come out here like, yo, paradise clarity. It's like, no, I mean, I understand that this is largely written for those that have followed along with me. I mean, I forget that there's been a lot of people following along to my website, reading my poems, just diving into whatever I put out. And this is sort of like, yeah, this is evidence of that. Though I am moving into another place and I'm writing my next book, which is the new direction I'm going into. So I'm already at a point where it's like, all right, this book is out. But I also wanted to make this video because I had to answer some of the disconnections. Speaking of which, if you would turn to page 8, for those of you who have purchased Paradise Clarity, and there is a special video I'm going to make for all of those who have purchased. I'm giving out some stuff, so check out for that. I'm not going to reveal too much because it's not like that's the point. But Dinosaur Disconnection is a very significant poem because it sort of explains the potential, and it's not even potential because there are typos in this book. It's 460 pages, and I wrote it really archiving all of my writings, and some of it was intentional, but then a lot of it, for me, I should just say typos can appear to be disconnected, but I read into what is generally being said. So I wrote this poem 2 different ways, and it's also referencing a book that is also coming out that I've already released briefly, Wait a Minute, Typo or Fate. That's actually going to come out before the next project. So wait a minute, Typo or Fate. That's the next book, which is going to be really something where I go into my new emergence of grace and my understanding of freedom. It's amazing how all of it comes together when it comes, right? Like now I'm understanding it. So I speak about the depiction, fiction, of a donkey that was bruised 3 times and nearly killed for moving out of the way, for it had seen an angel of the Lord. It was only following what its eyes made known. Now that the seeds have been sown, may the dinosaur of meaning keep your fate leaning towards the very reason bones and fossils are evident of what was once near, here. Meaning and the search for truth can never disappear. For the angel angle of the Lord of hosts boasts connections worthy to boast, far wide and up, down, and through the coastal regions. So I can go into why I'm writing this or why I'm even deciding to read it. But again, some of these words may appear disconnected because you got to wait a minute. Like, wait. I think you're trying to say this. Like, you know how you're typing in your search bar and you don't know what that word is. And it's like, did you mean this? So there's a lot of that. I'm making this video. I hope I've gotten through. I've given a lot of tidbits of information. Essentially, I'll potentially, in the process of my healing, go through some of these poems so that people understand that Paradise Clarity is out. But the next book coming out is Wait a Minute, Typo or Fate. And guess what? It's going to be so much shorter. It's not going to be 460 pages. You're not going to have a whole thesaurus on your desk or under your bed or wherever you put your books. Hopefully on a shelf. I'm not sure why I said under your bed. But wherever you have your books, I know this is the hard copy. Hard copies are not available. It's only the paperback. I only got myself a hard copy because, but I'm actually going to get a paperback for myself because I've been dropping it and I'm like, wow, I'm bruising it. So I'm going to take care of the paperback. I hope you are enjoying this book. Again, thank you for all of you who have followed along with me. I'm making a video pretty soon for those who have already purchased. So please, if you've not purchase, because I am keeping a record on all of these purchases and I'm giving out stuff, tidbits and things just to show gratitude for all of the love and grace that I've gotten. So Wait a Minute, Typo or Fate is coming out. It's going to be much shorter, but this is a hefty collection of a lot of significant information. And if you go to page 292, there's a page where I have a poem called The Ocean, the Ladder, and the Window, which is a very significant poem because it's actually a art piece that I created that responds to similar, this is like the earliest creative type of formula I made up, but it represents searching within sadness, and it talks about the ocean, the ladder, and the window. But it was written in 2016, although it says it was written in 2020. So that's a typo. Just calling that out there. That is not meant to say it was written in the 20th. It was supposed to be changed to 2016. But for whatever reason that's there. I'm not trying to be picky because if anyone was to be critical, they could definitely pick up a bunch of stuff and be like, what you said? And, and that's allowed if you want to do that because, again, one of the things that I say in the beginning of the book is I want you to read this with, that cynical eye of uncertainty if it comes to it, because all of that is necessary in the search of Paradise Clarity. But this is a hefty book, and it's also very personal, and it's been very emotional for me. But I am in a better space of acceptance and return to how it all comes together. And so now it's just receiving those inspirations and following along with the destiny and encouraging others to pursue and follow search. So thank you for those who have engaged this video. I know it was a long video. I decided to just make it. I'm not necessarily worried about how long I'm talking. So if you've made it this far, I appreciate you. Again, go easy on yourself. I'm trying to do that myself. We're in the middle of a global pandemic that is still happening. And that's definitely hampered a lot of destinations for people because it's like we can't really go anywhere. And at least if you're going somewhere, wear your mask. Do something. Like, there are a lot of ignorant people out there who are choosing not to make any action, and it's past that time. We have to take action, and we got to do it collectively. We got to answer the ancestral call and move forward, because there's too much confusion out there as a snare, and you got to be assisted with a new pair of glasses when you connect to the masses. That's how that happens. So again, I send my love to everyone watching this video. Thank you for getting through, or at least searching to get through, and more to come. Blessings. Buttons, I send.